Welcome to week 10 of RSFFL Live. I'm your co-host, Robert Harris.
I'm your other co-host, Brandon Childs.
And I'm your other co-host, Henry Bailey.
Guys, we want to welcome you guys back. We had a 2-week hiatus. We take full responsibility. We apologize. We had some busy schedules. But we're glad to be back. I mean, we're back right in time for the thick of them. I mean, going the last 4 games of the regular season.
This is the definition of the stretch.
The definition of the stretch. Looks like we have like 8 teams in contention for 4 spots.
Yeah.
And then with another team that we'll get to later, it's going to be a challenge. It's not going to be a cakewalk.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be definitely an interesting last 4 weeks of the season. What we decided to do today is going to be a little different from normal, all right? We're just going to, everybody I'm sure is paying attention to the scores. We know what's going on. Waiver wire at this point, honestly, is not really. The buys are almost over.
Right.
It's going man on man now, ones on ones. All right?
Strap up your chin straps on and come to play football.
Yeah, it's ones on ones this last 4 games. I think we may have 1 or 2 more bye weeks. So what we're going to do today, guys, we're going to go through all the teams in contention, kind of break them down, and then we're going to, have our own predictions of who's going to make the playoffs.
Okay, and just like we do every single week, I always take the time to give a shout out to our wonderful sponsors. This week we've got staples of our community, sponsoring our show. So we're going to first give a shout out to the good folks over at Gatorade, your fine folks over at Pepsi Cola, then a staple at any true-blooded American cookout and picnic. You've got French's Jello mustard. I mean, you throw it on a hot dog and you're eating great, okay? Other than a staple in any black American barbershop, and it's clipper spray. Keep your clippers cool and lubricated so that when you get finished that haircut, you don't have black lines around your whole head, okay? That's the last thing you want. All right, so take it away, Charles.
We're just going to get started just jump right on into it. What we're doing today, like he said, we're going to work just going to talk about our top 8 teams who we feel like are in contention. We have 2 teams that are 4 and 5, 3 teams 5 and 4, 2 team with 3 losses, and 1 team with pause with only 2 losses. So everything is right going well now, man. Teams are in the crunch, and one team who I think Coach mentioned earlier that we're going to talk about is the Houston Hustlers. If you have to play them and you're trying to get into that playoffs, don't think you got an easy win.
I found that out firsthand.
Because he's really been putting up a lot of numbers, good numbers. Early in the season, coming in on the short end of the stick, pause, but lately he's been getting some wins, putting up high volume of numbers. So I think he's going to play spoiler to a lot of teams over in the East coming down the stretch.
I think so. So as he said, you get a matchup with the Houston Hustlers. You better have your A game on and be prepared for a dogfight.
So with our number 8 team on the power ranking, if you want to so to speak, we're going to go with the January Juggernauts. Team that's 4 and 5. Team, if you look at his roster from top to bottom, he has a quality roster. Team hasn't been performing, I think, as much as he would think. I think he only put up maybe 850 points this season. But if you look at the talent on his roster, of course, the one and only Thomas Brady at quarterback. Frank Gore's had 5 straight 100-yard games.
Exactly right. Exactly. That's a San Francisco team lead record, actually.
Then we have Michael Bush as his other running back, who is big.
This next couple of weeks could be big.
Could be big now that McFadden out. Of course, MJD is number 3 on the rushing leads. Haven't been able to get in that end zone a lot, but if he does, that's 17, 18 points right there. Hakeem Nicks has been hampered with a hamstring lately, so hasn't been putting up the quality numbers as he usually does. Stevie Johnson coming off a tough week. Anytime you're playing over there on Reeves Island, you can't expect the most out of him. But I think he still ended up with maybe 80 to 90 yards receiving. Fred Davis started off the season hot, I think. Don't know how he's been doing lately. Seems he's been averaging, say, 9.5 points a game. So that's not bad for the tight end.
He stepped in for Cooley because Cooley went down. So he's been a solid replacement.
I don't know if he just picked up the Rams defense this week because they're playing the Browns, but I can't co-sign that one.
That's a little bit questionable, guys.
I don't know about you, Coach. You guys are more depth on the football end of matchups and things of that nature, but
I've got nothing.
I see Rams. I just don't think good things about them.
I understand. I look at his roster as well. I see a quality roster. I mean, nothing is just jumping off the screen except Tom Brady. But lately, he hasn't been Tom Brady he was the first 4 to 5 weeks of the season.
A 50-point guy.
Right. I mean, he's just average quarterback, right? As of right now, well, a little above average, but he's not just Aaron Rodgers out there.
And coming in the next week, I think he got them Jets, so.
Right, he has a Jet. Right. So
it's gonna be a tough one.
You know, out of all the teams, he's going to have the toughest road, you know. I mean, but at the end of the day, I mean, we talked offset. I mean, his roster's solid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, you know, he has holes in his roster. It just seems like his players are just performing at an average level. And at this point in the season, you want to have a couple of players who are performing above average and, you know, leading the league. And he's not really getting that. Rams, you know, I'm not going to speak on his, you know, who he has in the game for a weekly basis. He feels like he needs that. And, hey, you know. Whatever.
Well, just to add a little extra commentary to it, and pretty much you guys have hit on all the solid points here. Frank Gore to me is his stalwart on this team,
right.
And if he's going to make it to the playoffs or really push to get into the mix, Frank Gore's has to keep doing what he's been doing, which is a very difficult task to do. I mean, 5 weeks with 100 yards rushing each week. That's tough to keep up. Not saying that he can't. I'm just saying that it's tough to do.
Right.
Tom Brady, he's going to have to come back to that early season form and start to produce for him on a higher level. Otherwise, you know, I think January Juggernauts is going to have a...
he changed names back to January... he changed his name every week.
Yeah, he changed his name every week. Okay. Last week he was perfect segue. Right. That's a play on, you know, one of our staple lines here. Perfect segue. And maybe that's hurt him just a wee bit. Who knows?
Next, we're gonna go right into our numbers. Who's right now number 7th in our standings? Let's speak on your own team there, CJ2K and them. Although
I don't have CJ2K on the team. You know what? You know,
and we can talk about that.
Actually. Yeah, we can talk about a lot of things. A lot of trades. We made a lot of transactions these last few weeks, and they haven't been as favorable as I want them to be. We've lost 3 games in a row.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, we faced a lot of adversity. You know, and I just want, you know, my team. We're just grind mode right now. I mean, we're not worried about our team name. We don't care about names on the back of our jerseys. We're not gonna do a lot of talking. I mean, it's time to. I mean, get that butter from the duck.
Understood.
But as far as my team looking at it, I'm not gonna go through my entire roster, but that move, we feel like Deshaun Jackson and Chris Johnson are the same player. Okay. We feel like they're both very inconsistent. I'd rather have an inconsistent receiver than an inconsistent running back. Okay.
So I feel the exact opposite. Okay.
So that's why I made that move. He's very big play, and I just need him to probably have 2 great games coming down this stretch and then in the playoffs, and I think I'll be happy with him. Now Ray Rice, I just think him and Fred, I just really think that's gonna put me in that level where I need to be. That's why I made the deal. I was willing to give up almost anything to get him on the team. And we gave up a lot. We did. Right. But I think we had a solid group of receivers, and I really think Marcus Colston and Brandon Marshall are going to hold me down. My only question mark is, to me personally, is Owen Daniels. You know, I get my tight end to get back to his form he was in the beginning of the season. You know, I'm confident already, but I think we're going to be a tough team to beat going down the stretch if he plays.
Yeah. Only thing I can see, just as you said, is your tight end position. Pause. With the way that Arian Foster and Ben Tate have been playing, they're just not throwing the ball. And with Andre Johnson soon to come back, I feel like when they decide to throw the ball, that's who they're going to be throwing it to.
Exactly.
So I feel you, but you do have, as I see, Heath Mule on your bench. I don't know if you've been watching the Steelers, but
definitely been watching. That's why we picked them up.
You get a lot of targets out here, man. With the new offense they're running, where they're pretty much kind of throwing short passes as opposed to running the ball a lot now. So that's the only thing I can see on your roster. But other than that, your roster looks great. Long as Stafford stays healthy, you have Eli on your bench.
Yes, that's what I think. My depth
is quality.
I personally think I have the best depth in the league, and I'm still waiting on. I still believe in Peyton Hillis, guys. I feel like if we get in this playoffs, which we're very confident we will, I think Peyton Hillis is going to be an X factor come a month from now. You know, week 14, 15, when he's healthy, I really think when teams are wearing down, the weather gets cold, I think that Madden cover Peyton Hillis will be back. So I'm really looking forward to big things from him.
Well, I'm not necessarily sure I agree with Peyton Hillis being an X factor. However, I do agree with some earlier sentiments that your team is a pretty solid team from top to bottom. In fact, I would venture as far as to say that your team is one of the scarier teams that are in contention to make the playoffs. Because when you look at it, you break it down, you look at a quarterback like Matthew Stafford, who has a target, and Calvin Johnson, who's going to always come up with the big catch. maybe 2 or 3 in a game that gets your points up really pretty high. And then, of course, Fred Jackson is one of the top running backs in the league this year. And then you throw in Ray Rice to that, and your receivers, Marcus Colston and Brandon Marshall, just a little less.
High target guys.
Yeah, high target guys. Maybe not the most point-scoring guys,
right.
but they have the most opportunity to score points. And I think that's the one thing you have to be mindful of. So going forward, I think your team is going to be a very scary team to get out into the playoffs.
We just got to start performing. I mean, we do. And at the number 16, all right, we're going to go in out. I'll go ahead and start this one out. We're going with Charles here, formerly known as Charlie Sheenan. Now, you know, you're a part of one of my 3-game losing streak.
Right,
and, I mean, that trade turned your season around.
It did.
I mean,
Cameron
Newton is, you know, I thought he might fall off. He's not going to fall off.
I thought the same thing.
He's a better version of Tim Tebow. Okay, because Tim Tebow's gonna put up solid points.
I don't think those guys belong in the same.
No. Fantasy wise,
Right.
I mean, no way near on the football field.
Okay.
Fantasy wise, you know, Tim Tebow's gonna give you solid points every week, no matter how bad he plays.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, because he's gonna run that football. He might get a rushing touchdown. You know, I mean, Adrian Peterson is just the most consistent person in the league. I mean, year in, year out. Maybe not this year, but just he's gonna be a top 5 running back. You can stamp that. You got Greg Jennings, big play. Aaron Rodgers throwing to him, and Antonio Gates. And I mean, I'm really not upset at Team Lee, who probably won't even get mentioned except right now, for just dropping him. Like, how do you drop Antonio Gates from your team?
Oh, he just stretched the waiver wire?
Yeah,
when he hurt his foot.
He had no
weight out.
I mean, anybody on his team he could have dropped.
Yeah.
I mean, his team's terrible. He probably only has 3 good players on his team.
I went ahead and sacrificed early, so picking up some other players.
Right.
He was out 4 weeks. I just had to sit him.
For
4 weeks. I just had to sit him. I just
and
chopped that spot up. Now he's back.
And he almost
17.
beat me.
Yeah, gave me 17 points last game.
Yeah, I mean,
I tried to get him the same week, but
I'll go ahead and speak on this. He almost beat me last week with Antonio Gates, and I feel like seeing as though we just had this matchup, I'm in a prime position to talk about his team and his team's potential for playoff success or getting into the playoffs. This guy had none of his starters in at the prime positions.
Right.
I had my entire roster in from start to bottom, and he was able. From the top to the bottom to put up solid numbers across the board and give me really a strong run for my money. So once this guy gets his starters back on the team off the bye, I think that the team formerly known as CS, Charlie Sheenan, is really going to be a tough matchup for a lot of guys coming down the stretch. He was just on a 4-game win streak, I believe it was. We ended that winning streak, fortunately. Almost lost it. And so I really think that
that's big for league parity.
Big for league parity. I can't deal with 5-game winning streaks across the board. I just can't.
We don't need another 6 and 3.
We don't need that. We don't need that. So
we need 4 3 losses.
Exactly. So I really think that formerly known as CS is going to have a great opportunity to make the playoffs. But I think if you can keep it up, we may see you there at the end of the season.
Well, hey, just want to say, I feel like my team is solid. I really hope that they sit Ahmad Bradshaw one more week. Mm-hmm. I really don't want him to come out against that stifling defense for San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't want him to come out and hurt their feet. Just let him rest. Play Brandon Jacobs. I feel like I have enough players running back with Sean Green, Mendenhall to step up and play in that. Give me a solid 12 to 13 points. I feel like I can get out of either one of those guys.
Right.
I have picked up Victor Cruz in a trade with January Juggernauts, in which I traded away Cedric Benson. I needed a receiver after trading Anquan Bolden to the Houston Hustlers. Mm-hmm. So I picked up Victor Cruz, high target guy lately. He's in targets. He's second behind Hakeem Nicks in targets for the Giants. Mm-hmm. First in catches actually over Hakeem Nicks, although he's had a little less targets. I feel like he's going to get a high target. I'm high target. That's what I've been going for with my receivers. High target guys. Antonio Brown gets a lot of target. Grant Jiggins. A lot of my guys are slot guys. Right. They're going to get the high targets, high catches. So once I feel like Bob Bradshaw comes back, I'll have that able to decide whether I want to go with the 3 running back set or throw in Victor Cruz at my at my running back wide receiver. My flex spot. And I got the Bengals D, who's been giving me solid numbers.
Yeah, they're solid. They're definitely solid. I just looked. I mean, you scored 100 points 6 weeks in a row. I mean, I dare to say that you might be the hottest team in the league right now. I mean, you probably are the hottest team in the league. Even with that loss, I mean, you had your 2 best players out. Yeah. So, I mean, hey, look out. I'm glad I got your game out the way, even though you beat me. So.
Yeah.